From modernizing legacy systems to building innovative enterprise applications, low-code is powering the future of application development. Our podcast series brings perspectives and insights from Pega and Aaseya experts and industry leaders on why low-code is predicted to be responsible for more than 65% of application development by 2024. Welcome to our first podcast, App Studio. Is this the tipping point?
I'm delighted to be joined by Rene Voogt, Director Solution Consulting from Pega.
Good afternoon, Adrian. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, thank you. Vineeth, Kichilu, who's one of Aaseya's technical leaders engaged at Leaseplan. And Lex Ruijter, who is the head of Pega at Leaseplan. Hi,
everybody.
Lex.
Hi.
So the background to this session is that we're seeing both Pega and its customers, specifically Leaseplan and Lex, really adopting App Studio as the default way of building enterprise applications. That's opposed to the more technical platforms or technical areas of the product like Dev Studio. So historically, Pega's been a very technical platform. So Vineeth, how many years have you been working on Pega for?
I think more than a decade for sure. And I think when I started, it was fairly technical. I needed to have a Java background, object-oriented programming, learn a bit of here and there. So it's been a long journey with starting from the 5 version until the latest, I would say.
Yeah, amazing. So when I started my journey back in 2007 and I ended up doing my CSA exam, I really found out you had to be highly trained and highly skilled to work on the Pega platform. The dark arts of this thing called the class structure, inheritance, declarative indexes, backward and forward chaining. I have to say I don't even understand any of those then or today. And in 2007, if you wanted to become a certified lead system architect, you'd have to fly to Boston and you'd sit in front of Alan Trefler, the CEO, and Mike Parr, the head of engineering, and others to pass like the bar exam. And that's how technical the platform used to be. So I think, Rene, over the last few years, we've seen Pega investing a lot of time and effort in this App Studio interactive interface, allowing people to build applications for both professional developers and also citizen developers. And the question, I think, for us is this a tipping point now where Pega's got to that maturity in the product that you can build applications without having to go into the technical elements of the platform? So have we reached the tipping point, Rene?
Yeah, I think we have, Adrian. It's interesting indeed. We launched App Studio with release 7.3. That's about 5 years ago now, and we see a major change. Even for example, a guy like myself, I'm not technical at all, and I lead the pre-sales team for platform. And I can develop apps without having that background of Dev Studio. I use App Studio a lot myself in showing customers the product. Probably the best way to prove that we have reached that tipping point is by the adoption. Yeah, if you look now, we have several customers who have adopted App Studio globally. For example, Ford. Yeah, so I think the tipping point is there, and personally, I think it's kind of driven by, on the one hand, supply. We now have a great tool with App Studio, but also by demand. Companies need to be faster and faster in developing new applications. The backlog on IT has been growing, so it fits very well in the current climate and the current economy. So yes, we have reached the tipping point, Adrian.
So Rene, one of the other things I've noticed on all my career with Pega, it's always been very keen to get customers enabled in the technology. So is App Studio also helping with that because it's easier to understand?
Oh, absolutely. In principle, App Studio is true low code, no code. People who understand business, who understand processes, who understand improving business processes, can use the tool. Yeah, they can develop their own processes. It's a very easy tool. It's very self-explanatory, and it's aimed at people without a development background.
So Vineeth, you're a very experienced principal architect, a CLSA. You've worked around the world with many customers. What's your experience like now with working with App Studio, and what does it mean for customers, and what does it mean for you in your role? I mean, how have you found the adoption of using this technology in the Leaseplan account, for instance?
I think it's been a beautiful journey. Like you knew already that App Studio maybe started somewhere on the 7.34 versions, and how it has evolved a lot, right? Like in the beginning, it was just the case journeys. Maybe now it's the data objects. You can do end-to-end stuff, right? I think with the background with Pega being a very technical tool which can do end-to-end automation, of course, the App Studio part is built for really citizen developers, right? I.e., it's really built for anybody, right? Anybody could come with a basic training and start building stuff. In essence, what has happened over the period of my learning with App Studio, I've noticed that I'm more focused towards the business outcomes. I'm concentrating on what my customer wants, what are they looking forward for, and building those journeys right with them together on the screen, right? And it's benefiting both the customer and the team, implementation team, because you are quickly seeing your results, right? Not only that ability, you're also involving your business inside your journeys, right? So they could also come, okay, I need a step here, I need a stage here. Now I need to be channel agnostic. Can I go a new channel? Can I do self-service? And they can do that right in front of the screens and themselves, right? So you don't need to be really technical. You can focus on your problems and get the business outcomes delivered using App Studio. So that's the big advantage, I would say, I've noticed.
And I think also, if you jump in here, I think from a Leaseplan point of view, we see an amazing change in the marketplace, and it's moving. The change is really fast now, so we need to act quicker to adapt to that. And also not just internally, but also the environment around us. We also have 29 countries out there need to be stay attached to us. And I think if you look at the speed, that asks for a platform that can also be quick. And so the platform could do everything, was really sophisticated, but it wasn't per se quick. And now we're adding the quick factor by enabling a lot of people and closer to the business. So you're again closing a gap in that translation from business dreams and ideas, translating it back to a solution. So I think I see it when I now look at what we're doing. We're more and more business driven. We're not there yet, but we're making the right steps, and we're embracing absolutely App Studio to basically to the maximum what it is today.
I think so Lex, good points, Lex. Adrian, so sorry. I wanted to say, because I recall this all of a sudden, right? We did an experiment because Lex said quickly able to do this, right? So we called all our best principal architects within our company, also with Leaseplan, right? And we tried to build the same application once through Dev Studio, the normal way, and App Studio, the new normal way, right? And we figured out that it's at least 3 to 4 times faster than implement, right? We also figured out things which in the past were fairly very technical, like integrations, right? You could do it like in 2 clicks. In fact, the funny thing is, I think a couple of weeks back, me and Lex himself did a quick integration where he could predict the gender, the locality of a name, right? So if you give it via App Studio, it figures out where you're from, what's your gender quickly. And we did it in 5 minutes, right? And this was not possible long back. I had to think rule sets. I had to think some sort of stuff, class, and I don't know what. I would probably waste 5 days to get that thing done. Now it's really quick, right? So that's the stuff. You're probably 4 times faster, and it's a powerful, really powerful studio, I would say.
And maybe not to ignore all the knowledge and experience in the field, because Dev Studio is still really important. So we still need that to get the sophisticated dynamics behind it. So this is, I think, the bridge between business and IT, and the techie side is now in front of us. We can use it, and it enables us to excel quicker. Absolutely, yeah.
So Lex, obviously we've worked with you now for over 12 months, and I know you've been absolutely passionate around wanting to adopt the new way of doing things and App Studio. How have you found finding people in the marketplace that have used App Studio? I know typically when we find people to do projects, everyone says I need someone with 6 to 10 years Pega experience. It's like, well, yeah, they might know 7 or 6 point something, but it's different, right? So how, is the history relevant, and how are you finding the availability of people that actually understand how to use App Studio, have done it before?
Yeah, absolutely. Good question, because I think that's when we started, from a center of excellence point of view, looking at how do we get the right people on the account to make sure the projects are also led with the new way of thinking. We started with, we need really experienced people, and we need the top of the line, all the top guys, to really help us put it down the right way. And we noticed that the top guys, which have 10 plus years experience, don't per se have the App Studio experience. So what I think, if we look fast forward to today, we're maybe looking at people with, let's say the other way around. So we see that younger people with 5 years experience tend to have more App Studio affinity, and they're able to jump that quicker than the old people who are been working with Pega for a longer time. There's absolutely big exceptions, like Vineeth made that jump with me to really say, okay, what's the maximum, the edges of App Studio, to also prove to Leaseplan it is there, it is ready to use, and you don't need per se Dev Studio in the first stage.
Okay, so Vinny, one of the things that we've discussed in the past as well is the changing roles in projects, and around how the LBA is becoming very important in the project, and the fact that the LBA is using App Studio, through the journey of the project and the delivery. How have you seen the change in roles and what it means to delivering Pega projects with using App Studio? What's your view on what that's done to how important the LBA is? What does the LSA do in the role, and the kind of dynamics it makes in a project delivery?
Yeah, I think it's an important thing, because if you notice in the past, the projects were very LSA driven, right? So LSA would be in the front seat. Of course, the LBA is also around taking the DCU and all those kind of stuff. But LSA was responsible for creating these case types, class journeys, and all this kind of stuff. So the focus was more there, right? But if you see in the recent part with App Studio, it's more or less the LBA driving the project. The reason being, the LBA is the closest to the business. They are understanding the users, so more or less understanding the business outcomes really well, right? Now, via the App Studio, the LBA can actually complete the entire stuff. Not only the journeys, the integration, the data modeling, the views, and a lot of stuff. So while the LBA is collecting the user stories, they're also building these stuff along with our customer, right? If at least a specific example, right? Like we're building an onboarding platform where the LBA is actually building the entire skeleton. I would say 80% of the stuff, right? Now, where does the LSA or the technical team come in? We might have something very complex in nature, right? So, for example, we need to parse something, or we need to, do a natural language processing or decisioning ability. That's when the LSA and the technical team come in, and then they use the Dev Studio and then enhance the stuff, right? During this journey, we also make sure that we do something known as a feature-based design. What that means is sometimes it could happen that the LBAs themselves can't use they can't build certain technical features, right? So the LSAs would build reusable accelerators for them. And then that becomes a feature for the LBA, right? So the next module maybe they're doing, or the next application, they already know there's an accelerator here. I can plug and play, right? So the current landscape, the LBA is leading the project. LSA is enabling the LBA to deliver it together, right? So that's
also
how it
maybe
looks
good to mention here that the reusable accelerators are available from App Studio, so you can actually reach them there. And when you start building up that repository of accelerators, you start actually even more increasing your speed.
Yeah, I think, Adrian, one point which I would like to say, like I said, I think in the past I was spending a lot of time on the class design and integrations and a lot of kind of stuff, rule sets, I don't know what, right? Like so many stuff. Probably takes my 3 weeks of time during the inception, right? But here you start right from the first minute of your inception. You click a button, App Studio creates an application. You don't need to worry about anything. In the background, the engine is running and creating those class structure rules, rule set, hierarchies, layered, everything, right? And then you just tell the tool, I need an accelerator or a reusable asset, and they just start building your processes around that, right? So you don't need to worry what's happening in the behind. The tool is taking care of that. That's why the LBA could do end-to-end stuff along with our customer, right?
Yeah, so Rene, are we seeing? sorry, Rene, are we seeing customers build really complex enterprise case solutions using App Studio, or is it more limited to smaller projects?
Well, we see a mix, to be honest. We see really three categories. We still see the complex projects, and that's probably the really tough processes. That's probably still where, we see companies starting with App Studio, but like Lex was saying, there's still a lot for the use of Dev Studio. We see the other extreme, which is simple applications, simple processes. There we see adoption of about, people really using 90 to 95% App Studio. For example, Ford, which I mentioned earlier, has really enabled citizen developers now using App Studio only. And they also use Apps Factory to manage it and to govern it to create simple applications. But probably the area where we see the biggest interest is what we call fusion development, which is really the kind of middle ground, and that's where we see IT working together with business, like you described, Vineeth, really in a cooperative way to develop together and to basically do it iterative. So develop something, go back, review, and go back again. And that's really powerful, because with that we also see innovation growing, we see new ideas growing, and it's really that's really taking up now. And I think that's a brilliant thing. So we see a mix. But Dev Studio is still there. On the other hand, yeah, definitely we see also kind of the other extreme, where companies are going, or you get true citizen developers developing without using Dev Studio at all.
Fantastic. So Lex, do you ever see people you ever see citizen development in Leaseplan, do you think, or is that just not on the agenda?
For now, it's not on the agenda. I do see, once the repository I just mentioned of reusable assets is growing, then I can imagine with some boundaries we can start offering that to the citizens in Leaseplan. But I think we need to get to a next level of maturity, also organization wise with Pega internally, and just get to the next step first. And then I do envision with boundaries. I don't believe in the free formats. Have fun with the platform. I do believe in the if the people who really know the stuff create the accelerators, and then we offer to them people who can click them together. That model, I think, definitely it's on the horizon. And I think also with Cosmos React and a theme Cosmos might even be still part of it. This is also some people say it's limiting your ability to offer everything to your clients, but it's also supporting this low code movement, because the people working on it don't have the freedom to mess it up, and they stay in boundaries. As long as we keep the boundaries wide enough so they're happy, I think we're going to be really successful.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, Vinny.
Yeah, it's a pattern-based development, like Lex mentioned, right? So the chances of you doing errors against the guardrails and a lot of other stuffs are taken out, because you're inside that boundary, and then the tool is guiding you through the experience and all this kind of stuff. With this App Studio, because when you club App Studio with Cosmos React, the power is endless, right? The reason I say that, because it's built on top of DX API version 2. So that means the way App Studio is communicating to your portals also is via DX API version 2 and Constellation. So it really becomes channel agnostic. So you build it once, you configure your views, and it can go to Salesforce, it can go to your front end via SDK, it can be your native screens, it could be web embedded for your self-service, all those kind of stuff, right? Yet staying in the pattern. And the beauty is the pattern is taking care of that development, and how you want to present your UI in different screens, that's taken care by your front end, right? Within Leaseplan, if you'd say we have something known as the velocity, which is basically looking after how things should look like, the branding, the color, the button should look like this. We don't worry about that. We build our stuff in Pega, and via the DX API and version 2 SDK, the SDK talks to the velocity SDK, and then they communicate and make each other understand how it should look like in the Leaseplan website, right? And these are all powerful stuff. And I must tell you, you can't do any of these from the Dev Studio. You must do everything from the App Studio to enable this. And the reason being, like Lex said, it has to be in a boundary, because if you do certain things outside the stuff, then you're doing custom coding, and that might break the reusable asset, right?
Thank you. So I think on behalf of Aaseya and obviously with Leaseplan and Pega here, I think all three of us believe that we have reached the tipping point. I mean, I think Pega's now in a position where you can build enterprise applications, low code, without the years and years of experience and having to be, a rocket scientist, to be quite frank. So it's a really interesting time. Rene, thank you for your time today. Lex as well. Thank you on behalf of Leaseplan and Vineeth. Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
We look forward to doing another podcast soon. Take care.
Cool. Great.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Adrian.